I was prepared for the worst, man. I was prepared. Oh boy. This is horrid, man. I was totally not expecting this at all. Okay. How much does this thing weigh again? 7 kilograms, right? This whole thing is 7 kilograms. Okay, welcome back to the channel. Steven right here with a massive figure unboxing and review for today. Third-party resin figure, Imagination Studios 1x6 scale Kafka from Honkai Star Rail. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to this one. I'm a bit anxious because the early pictures I saw online, low quality pictures from other users in China, the face is once again not really promising. Well, probably not as bad as Dodomo Studios' Marin Kitagawa. It still looks fine. It really still looks like Kafka, but not as much as what we saw in the promo pictures. So I will have to see what it is like in person, right? Yes, 1x6 scale. What is up with this parcel over here? Okay, before that, we take a look at the dimensions. 75 centimeters long. The height 75 by 46, and the depth of this parcel would be around 38, right? So this is massive. This is normally the size of 1x4 scale boxes. So what is going on over here? You see, I pre-ordered the deluxe version, like the ultimate version, supreme version as they call it, where it includes the standard game outfit and also the casual outfit, and finally the Hadaka version. I call it Hadaka version, okay? Because YouTube doesn't like the N word. Okay, Hadaka version. So of course I can't show you guys the Hadaka version in this review, but it is basically just her without anything on, right? Just 100% Hadaka. Okay, I was expecting like one figure and then with certain parts, extra parts included for you to swap out, but what I got is way more than that. I think I might have accidentally bought 3 entire figures of the same character, of the same figure. Yeah, because when the parcel arrived at the proxy shipping service, there were 3 separate parcels and they are being strapped together, which is why this is so huge, which makes this an amazing deal, to be honest, right? So without further ado, we'll just open up this parcel and see what it is like on the inside, right? Okay, let's go. Which is which, guys? Which is which? They all look the same. Ah, version ABC, I see. So this must be the Hadaka one, right? We'll save this for later. And that is all for the figure unboxing process for this trio of 1x6 scale Kafka figures from Honkai Star Rail. They are made by Imagination Studio. With these 3 figures over here, I have a lot of things to discuss with you guys about, right? These 3 are my first figures by this figure company, Imagination Studio, otherwise also known as YY Studio in China. I have no idea why. Maybe that is their Chinese name, just double Y. Firstly, there are 2 things that I have to apologize about because I don't have a choice. Yeah, obvious ones I suppose. This Hadaka version, as you can see, I have wrapped it heavily in plastic because, yeah, we can't show the Hadaka parts of this figure on YouTube, right? Yeah, and I'm only showing you guys her back, but seriously, there is nothing special about this version. The second one is this casual version, sweater version, whatever you call it, right? Yeah, I placed masking tapes on her opai because I had to, because I don't know whether YouTube will like it or not. So for some of the close-up videos later, yeah, you'll see those masking tapes on. I don't have a choice over here. Okay, the pricing of this trio of figures, unfortunately, I don't remember the exact prices because I think it was under 2,000 Chinese yuan, or just slightly over 2,000 Chinese yuan when they went on pre-order, right? So that would make these 3 figures like just under 450 US dollars, I think. Yeah, 400 to 450 US dollars when they went on pre-order back then. If you get it early bird, they were quite cheap. But if you were to buy them now after watching this review today, you were quite happy, you want one, I'm afraid the prices may have gone up, right? Yeah, I do have an affiliate link below for OzGK. They are a partner of my channel. But before you go ahead and buy it, even if it appears to be in stock, make sure to message them and ask what is the actual price, because the pricing that was listed over there is not necessarily the final price, the actual price of these 3 figures, because in case they are actually sold out and they had to source the stock from somewhere else, then of course it is going to get really expensive. As for the dimensions of these 3 figures, they are pretty much exactly the same height, 34 centimeters including the base. Without the base, figure only fit to height 28, so that is indeed exactly 1x6 scale. This case, the difference between this standard version compared to the other 2 versions, this is a really nice surprise. I wasn't expecting it. You are getting 2 separate hits, 2 different hits for this standard version. This casual version, how do I put it? It feels like it is something which a lot of resin figure brands are doing. They do this game version and then they do a second different outfit version. And as you keep collecting more of these resin figures, you keep going for the deluxe version, eventually you will be overwhelmed because each time you buy 1 figure, you get 3 of them like this over here. I wasn't expecting to get 3 entire figures, you know. Yeah, it can get problematic very quickly for your collection. Moving on to the figure unboxing process, right? So the unboxing and the assembly was very straightforward. No parts that were difficult to put together. Like, I had a noob moment over there. I had a bit of trouble putting the arms into this casual and Hadaka version, right? Like, no matter how I orientate both arms, right and left, I have trouble putting them in because the angle is very specific. That was the noob moment I had on my own. Like, my brain was barely functioning at the moment because I was so overwhelmed by the stuff I'm dealing with, right? 3 figures at once. Okay, and then there are a couple of things which I'm not happy about the assembly process of this figure. More of a personal opinion rather than an objectively bad kind of thing, right? Maybe this is something common for resin figures. You need to remember, I don't buy many resin figures yet. Okay, the first thing is the connection between the figure's foot, their feet and the base, right? There was only 1 single metal pack actually, right? So if I were to remove this figure, as you can see, it's quite tightly connected the figure, right? Wow, okay, so there is only 1 single metal pack over here, no metal pack over here, right? No metal pack on the right leg. Same case for all 3 figures, but they connect to the base with extremely powerful magnets, like really strong. See, the thing will just snap into place. See? Very strong magnet over here. And once it goes in, I want to pull the figure out from the base. It is not easy, right? You need a bit of force. So, yeah. But at the same time, the connection between the physical peg, the physical connection between the foot peg and the base is on the loose side because it is 100% dependent on the magnets to keep the figure standing upright, right? So this is not a secure figure. Let's say if I were to put somewhere nearby over here, and then when I was doing some work, I accidentally shoved the figure might still fall off from the base and go straight to the floor, right? So this is not secure actually, despite how strong the magnet is. And I do believe this is the case with resin figures. Doesn't matter whether it is other brand, whether it is 1x6 or 1x4, they all use magnets because you can't do tight fitting parts with resin. Resin is very fragile. If the parts are completely tight fitting like most Japanese PVC figures, yeah, when you are removing the figure from the base, you are guaranteed to break the foot peg, which is why they're all magnetic based in resin figures. The second thing which I am not a big fan of is only applicable to this standard game version over here, doesn't apply to the other two, because she is holding a violin over here. I'm not sure what that stick in her right hand is called, by the way, but that stick does not have any magnets because it is very thin, and no pegs, nothing. It just sits inside her right hand loosely like that. So I am letting it sit against the sleeves over here, you know, so that it does not fall off, but it just sits there very loosely. It falls off really easily, but at least such a part does not break when it falls off, right? I don't like it, but yeah, if you were to ask me, could I have done it any better if I designed this figure, I would also have a hard time thinking of a solution for that. Yeah, if you saw the unboxing part, you must have had a mini heart attack over there, where this standard version, there was a part, when I lifted the torso, the body out from the box, from the styrofoam holding, there was a part that fell out. Oh no, something's broken. Yes, something was broken in this game version, but you could not tell at all because I have super glued it back perfectly. No crack lines, nothing at all. Which is this part in front here on the chest, right? That ribbon over there. Yeah, it was broken in the box, and am I mad about it? Maybe a bit, but I am not too concerned about that because no, it was a clean fracture. There were two pegs, one on top and one in the middle. The middle, it was like they did not apply enough glue, or maybe it got knocked off during shipping, who knows, right? Rough handling of the parcel. And the top peg over here, up here, it was fractured, right? However, because I still had another peg which is intact, I just had to apply a very thin layer of super glue. I used a toothpick to apply, right? Do not drip super glue directly on the part. You will ruin the paint job. So what I did was, I would to take a bit of super glue, I drip it on a sheet of paper, and then I would to use a toothpick and slowly apply a very thin layer of super glue and then just hold it back for 10 seconds and it is back stuck on the figure. Perfect glue. No stains, you can't see any glue stains on anything at all. It is like a clean job. I did a clean job over there. So it is a non-issue at all. I would say I was pretty lucky that it was that ribbon that broke and not something else, such as a ponytail. That would be a nightmare, right? The last thing you want a figure to break, a resin figure to break, is a ponytail like this. It is extremely difficult to glue back, and you know, the fracture line is very obvious, but on this ribbon over here, you can't see anything at all. The next minor thing which I am not really a fan of, it only applies to this casual version over here. You see this white color string surrounding her waist? Yeah, that is a really ugly way to tell us that she is wearing G-string underneath, right? Yeah, if you look underneath her skirt, white color, G-string. Though G-string are supposed to be tight fitting, you know, you just pull the strings tight around your waist and then you tie it properly so that it does not fall off. But the G-string here is very loose fitting, right? Not like Imagination Studio could have done anything better with this, because resin cannot be done in a tight fitting metal. They will break. So if you are feeling a bit of courage, maybe you can try to remove it by force, because yeah, I think you can remove it by force. I would rather remove it, even though there is white color cloth underneath her skirt, right? Yeah, I'll get rid of it later. It looks better that way. Just assume that she is going no pun. I would rather do it that way. For the styrofoam part, holding the figures together, each part together, it looks almost exactly like the one Dodomo Studio used for their Marin Kitagawa. So I was wondering, are they actually sharing the same what they call it, supplier for these box packaging parts? Because it does seem like that is the case, complete with the Velcro strap holding it together. I like that a lot. In fact, I don't see Japanese figure brands package their resin figures this way, with Velcro strap tying the thing together secure. They just use sellotapes because they want to cut costs, right? I would rather the Japanese brands give us a poorly designed or a very simple design box, but inside we have something more secure like Velcro strap, which is really nice. I like what the Chinese brands are doing over here. Moving on to the actual figure itself, this is where I experienced one of those bait and switch scenarios, right? So, when I paid for these 3 figures and anxiously waited for their arrival, of course, I wanted to know what their figures look like after what happened to Dodomo Studios' Marin Kitagawa's eyes. They were misaligned. I was a bit concerned, right? But I went ahead and looked for user photos of these 3 figures. Those in China, they have received their figures earlier than I do because, domestic. And, oh no, the initial impression, the initial thought was not good at all. Like, this was what people posted in Taobao's product feedback section. And when I saw pictures of this Kafka with this head over here, I was sweating, man. I was really scared. Like, I spent so much money for these 3 figures, and the face of this Kafka does not look like what was promised by the official product photos at all. I was sweating, man. I was restless. And then, the more I looked at the picture, I thought, well, it does still look like Kafka. Different, very different, but still looks like Kafka, at least what the game character design looks like. Anyways, I wouldn't want to judge too early, so I waited patiently for these 3 figures' arrival, and when I opened up the box, I was prepared for the worst, man. I was prepared. Only to be pleasantly surprised by how this game version has 2 separate heads inside, and you get to choose whether to display this original head, as I call it, the original version, as shown in the official product pictures, or to display it with the other version, which I call the alternate version over here, right? No official names, I'm just calling it this way. Oh, so this Kafka has 2 heads and 2 faceplates in the box. And for some reason, all these buyers in China who bought a copy of this figure, they decided that this alternative version is better. They displayed their figures with this version and they posted pictures of this Kafka with this alternate head. And that misled me into believing that this is all I got. Whoa, you guys really tricked me, man. You got me good. In a good way, I suppose. Okay. So moving back to the face, to the head, I think this is the most important part because everyone wants to know what the face looks like. Okay, my honest opinion. Whether it is any good compared to the official product pictures, I would say the similarity is about 80% or so. Yeah, rough estimate over there. Why not 90%? Why not 100%? Why am I saying 80%, right? Because this head we got from Imagination Studio, it is actually slightly different from what was being promised in the official product pictures. And maybe they made this adjustment because they think it is better. Whether it is better or not, I'll leave it to you to decide, right? So I'm going to put up this picture over here, the official product pictures, right? But if you observed really carefully, the hair strands are slightly longer and they are almost covering her eyes. But in the final product, what we got over here, I think the hair strand is ever so slightly shorter. It is like Imagination Studio decided to shorten the hair strands ever so slightly so that it does not conceal her eyes too much, does not cover her eye, does not obstruct her face, right? So the ultimate question I have, do I like the face in the final product over here? And I'm not sure how to answer this question. I think she looks really pretty, I like it a lot, but at the same time I felt ever so slightly disappointed because The whole point I bought these 3 figures of Kafka was because I loved the face 100%. I loved that face shown by Imagination Studio in their official product photographs, and that is what I wanted. But they went and changed things ever so slightly. Initially, you look at her, yeah, it appears ever so slightly different from the product photos, but the more you look at her, the more you're starting to love it. Like, this doesn't look bad at all. This is really attractive, right? So, I would officially say that the faces of these 3 figures of Kafka, there is no problem at all. Feel free to buy it if you can come across one for a decent price. I'm liking these 3 figures a lot by now, see? Okay, and then moving on to the second hit sculpt, right? This one over here. This was a surprise because I don't think there were any pictures shown by Imagination Studio where they are telling us there is a second hit, which is this one over here. And from the looks of it, maybe this second hit over here is a lot more similar to the game version, the game artwork, right? Maybe it looks a lot more similar to the game version, which is why I'm seeing a lot of mainland Chinese figure collectors. They are opting for this second hit. It is still a really pretty face, and if you bought at least 2 versions of this figure, I would suggest you display one with a different head, with a different face. So it almost feels like you have 2 sisters next to each other, which is quite a nice thing, right? Moving on to the body, the torso, and everywhere else around the figure, right? I would say the sculpting is pretty much exactly the same as what we were shown in the official product pictures. Overall, the sculpting on this figure, I would say an easy 8 out of 10, right? 8 out of 10 may sound low to you, but trust me, I rarely give figure above 9.5. I don't think I've ever given figure 10 out of 10 before. Maybe there was 1 or 2, but I almost never give figures 10 out of 10. So if a figure were to get an 8 or 8.5 from me, that is a very high score. And this figure of Kafka over here, yeah, I would say this is an 8 or even 8.5. And the only reason why it is not a 9 is because the face is ever so slightly different than what was advertised, right? Just me being very nitpicky over here. Moving on to the paint job. Okay, the paint job surprised me even further. In a really good way, you see. The moment I opened the, the styrofoam box and I took a look at the body, at the torso, wow! You know, the amount of gradient and paintwork, the amount of shading on this thing is no joke, man. And the colors are so vibrant, so strong, that whenever I took pictures of this figure, I did videos of this figure, it feels like the colors are oversaturated, but that is what the figure truly looks like in person to your own eyes. The colors are really intense on this figure. I mean, look at this head over here, right? This head, look at the way they painted the hair. There are at least 4 or 5 different shades of purple magenta color over here. The top, the side, the shading, and the very edges, they are all different color. The shading work here is outstanding. This is almost genuine figure by Outer by Good Smile level over here. The paint work is incredible on her hair. The hair is something beautiful. You need to look at this in person to be able to appreciate it. You compare this head to the second head, right? The second head, the paint work is a lot simpler. The hair is almost metallic color for some reason. And whether you like this kind of color, this kind of finish for the hair, I think that is subjective. To me, it is a bit weird that the hair is metallic color. I would rather the color of this hair to be similar to this one, but I suppose that a different paintwork is not necessarily a bad thing because it differentiates these 2 figures further, right? It makes these 2 different. So it feels like you have 2 completely different figures when I display them next to each other. The next thing I noticed about the painting is that if I would compare all 3 heads, not including this version, second head, all 3 heads on these 3 versions of Kafka over here, they look almost exactly the same. And that speaks a lot on how consistent Imagination Studio was when they made this figure. Like, all 3 heads are exactly the same, down to the paintwork and the way they gradient the shade on the hair. It is exactly the same. I was so impressed because, you know, when you mass produce something in the thousands of units or tens of thousands of units, there are bound to be slight differences from one figure to another. Maybe one will have a slight QC issue, the other one will appear better than usual, and so on. No, all three heads are exactly the same. And this is actually what that impressed me the most about this figure. The consistency, right? More about the paintwork. Very heavy shading, very heavy gradient. It is stunning. It is beautiful. I really don't know what other words to use to describe, right? But they are not without their flaws. If you look very carefully on the black color outlines on her white shirt, right, you'll see a bit of paint bleeding on the black paint over there. It is not severe, it is minimal, but it is there. And could I accept this? I would say it is not bad enough to get a huge criticism from me, but I think it could have been better. This is still better than what Fat Company does. When Fat Company does paint bleeding on their figures, it is a lot worse than what they're looking at over here. So I am willing to overlook that slight paint bleeding over there on her shirt because the rest of the figure is simply outstanding. Like if you look at the back of this Kafka over here, right, this game version, oh, just look at her jacket and all those deco placements. It is beautiful, man. I would say that the amount of positives of this figure, the number of good things about this figure, outside of those black color lines on her shirt, I could not find any other flaws on all three versions of this figure of Kafka over here. No major paint bleeding issues, no glue stains, no ugly gap or seam lines. Everything is just painted and assembled to perfection. If there is one thing I would like to criticize about the paint work, it is these roses over here on the base, right? This green color branch with the rose, it is just not plain green color, plain dark green color with barely any shading on it. It looks like a complete afterthought. I would love to see alternating shades of dark and bright green, like, you know, a bit of shading on those green color branches. Not a major complaint, just my observation. It feels like an afterthought over there to cut cost, right? Meanwhile, the paint on the Hadaka version, no problems at all. I can't put it on screen, right, because there is nothing over there, just plain skin color. And for that reason alone, I think the Hadaka version is kind of overrated. Like, you could have manufactured, 3D printed the very same torso and body, and you could put any other anime character head on it and pass it off as a new figure. So it feels overrated to me because it is way too simplistic with nothing special going on. Also, the paintwork on this sweater version, casual version, whatever they call it, it is a simpler outfit than the game version, but the gradient, the shading paintwork on it is also amazing. Like, you look at those alternating shades of bright and dark magenta. Really nice work. And for the case of this one, this casual version, zero flaws as well. Moving on to the base, the next part over here, where all three figures get the same base, and this is where maybe it is easier for Imagination Studio to use the same base for all three figures, but it feels like all three figures should have different bases because, you know, the setting is different. Like, the game version, you give this rock green base, it is fine, but because this is a casual outfit where people wear at home, I would expect maybe a floor tile base instead of something like this. The same could be said for this Hadaka version. I would expect something that reflects a home environment instead of this this ruin over here. It feels unsuitable or incompatible with this version over here. Just a personal observation of mine, right? My personal opinion. I don't think anyone else who bought all these three figures would even care if they share the base. And normally I would do a stability test where I would shake the figure and see how wobbly it is. But given that this figure is loosely fitted to the base, only aided by magnets, no, I'm not doing that with these three figures, right? Yeah, it is not going to be as stable as figures which are plugged tightly into the base, that is for sure. So should you buy these three figures of Kafka, right, by Imagination Studio? At least for the game version in the middle over here, it is a big yes. I like it a lot. The more I look at her, the more I'm starting to like her, and you're getting two heads with this version. So this is the best deal over here. If you have really deep pockets, you're really rich, by all means go ahead and purchase all three, the deluxe, the supreme version. I would discourage you from buying only the casual version or only the Hadaka version, it makes no sense at all. What is Kafka without this uniform over here, which she is known in the game, right? This is representative of her as a character. So either you buy this game version or you buy all three. Or maybe, yeah, you buy these two and ignore the third one. That is up to you. But it doesn't make sense to buy only either B or C version. That is what I think personally. Seriously, if you want this figure of Kafka, go and buy one now before the prices go up even further. And if you enjoyed this video, this review, please give this video a big like, thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for more high quality figure reviews. In the future, we have content on this channel every week. Until then, I'll see you guys again really soon. Goodbye.